You guys have probably heard about the good old days when bands would go on the road and torment the living crap out of the promoters, the tour managers, the hotel staff, very often even their own fellow bandmates. The good old days. You all saw the dirt, right? So today's show is all about these musicians, sometimes not necessarily the whole band. Sometimes it was just one guy in the band. Sometimes it was the whole band that just were absolute total MFers to be on the road with. Stick around. You're listening to the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus, changing rock history one podcast at a time. All right, everybody. The Loudini Hard Rock and Metal Circus, Loudini Rock and Roll Circus, is back at you in your face once again for your weekly dose, your weekly rock and roll injection here with myself, Lou Lombardi, a.k.a. Loudini, and sitting next to me, as always, in the co-pilot's chair, is the lovely and talented and our rock historian in-house, right here with us, Miss Lily V6. Lily, what's going on? How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I got a little bit of a cold. A little stuffed up. Every time I travel.
You get a little bit of a sniffle.
Yes.
Sniffle.
That's okay. I still sound good.
You sound freaking awesome. Well, it is also allergy season. On top of that, it is so hot here in southwestern Pennsylvania that my swamp ass has swamp ass.
Yikes. That's legit.
It's too legit to quit. Trust me. I wish it would quit.
That's why I'm wearing a dress.
I know. You know what? I think I'm wearing a dress for the next show if it's like this as well.
I have a nice purple one.
I think it would look good in purple. Purple's my color.
I think it is. You seem like a purple
All right,
guy.
guys. Loudini rockandrollcircus.com is the website. Check back often for more great shows like this. Also, I've been doing a little bit more on YouTube. I've been doing this simulcasting on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter all at the same time. I started doing that this week. I get a lot of questions in my private group, my inner circle, which I'll tell you guys a little bit later on. And I get on and I talk about that stuff. I do some, we take some classic riffs and dissect them a little bit and talk about them. Some people join in live. It's a good time. We'll tell you guys a little about that later on. If you are passionate about great guitar-driven rock, great hard rock and metal, from bands that you're just not hearing anyplace else or almost no place else, a couple things you should do. First of all, you should make sure that you listen to Rock Rage Radio. You should make sure that you're listening to Classic 92.3 because these are both of our affiliates. They carry our show, as well as helping us out, throwing us a little bone, a couple bucks, $1 an episode, whatever you can do on Patreon, patreon.com/Lou Lombardi, patreon.com/Lou Lombardi. Jump in there, $5 a month. That's like equivalent of you buying me a shot. Okay, and everybody knows how much I love good bourbon, and this shit ain't cheap. So patreon.com/Lou Lombardi. We're going to have more merch as well. I will start putting up links as well to our merch store with things like this, and we have some other t-shirts and things like that. So, all right, guys, appreciate you with that. Lily, what is going on with you? Tell us a little bit about what your week has been like and what you're up to.
Well, this is going to be a crazy week starting tomorrow. So I'll be at the Craft House for Sanctuary, Ghost Ship Octavius, Leprosy and White Thrash. Leprosy and White Thrash are from Pittsburgh. It's all metal, heavy metal. And I'm going to go live for that on the Facebook page, as well as Thursday is the Glenn Sobel and the Goon Squad Alice Cooper pre-party show at the Subalpine, and Lou will be there as well for that, so party time there. It's all of Alice Cooper's backup band, which is cool, and they come and hang out with everybody afterwards and beforehand. And on Friday is Alice Cooper out at KeyBank Pavilion. So
you have a very busy week ahead of you.
Yes.
As you mentioned, I will definitely be at the Glenn Sobel show. Saw that show last year around this time, and it was just off the hook great. Just like, really, if you're in a cover band, you should go and see what these guys do, because this is like the greatest cover band you will ever
That's
hear.
what you should be doing.
Yeah, because you should play those songs. You should play whatever songs you play. You should play them the way these guys play them. It's totally in your face. It doesn't even feel like you're at a cover show. It's just,
there's banter. It's fun.
I mean, they're just really good. It's a lot of fun. The band kicks ass, and you guys will totally freaking love it. We're going to go ahead and get started with our topic here in a minute, but we're going to start off with some great music. We play music here, guys, that you're not really hearing too many other places out there in the world. Tonight's bands are going to be Firewolfe, The End Machine, Lou Lombardi Strangelove, and Bordella. I feel like I should say Bordella. It's not Bordello, Bordella.
It sounds nice when you say it like that.
Yeah, Bordella. So, but we're gonna kick the show off with Firewolfe. This is a track called "We Rule the Night." Firewolfe is reorganizing, and they telling me that they're going to have a new record out in 2020. So you just have to we'll have to content ourselves with this. We Rule the Night, Firewolfe and the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. That's Firewolfe, everybody, and it's a track called "We Rule the Night." I think that band kicks total freaking ass, and Kevin and I played them a few years ago when we first discovered them. So I'm glad to, as I was saying at the top of the before we played the song, they will be releasing a new record in 2020. So they say they're putting out a record in 2020. Let me go ahead and give you a link. So if you're following along, we put these in the show notes, and if you'd like access to the show notes right away, if you get on our Patreon, I usually have this all uploaded within a day or so on Patreon, and you get the podcast with high definition audio and all the cool stuff. But Firewolfe is right now they have it's a Facebook link, so it's facebook.com/Firewolfe Band, and it's Wolf with a little E. Okay,
not a big E.
Yeah. So WOLFE Band, Firewolfe Band, facebook.com/Firewolfe Band. So check them out. Great band, and happy to be able to play a little Firewolfe for you guys. So bands behaving badly could be an alternate title of this show. That's one of the things that. Do we hear about that?
Not anymore.
No, you just don't
because bands don't party like they used to.
I know. In fact, I had heard a story. Well, actually, I heard Glenn Fry and Don Henley talk about the reason that one of the reasons they brought bringing Joe Walsh into the Eagles was because they felt that they were getting this sort of too much middle of the road reputation. They were like these good boys. From Southern California, they brought Joe Walsh in, and Joe Walsh is just like the song says. He lives in hotels. He tears out the walls, and they paid for the whole thing. They didn't care. They wanted Joe to act crazy. They wanted him to throw TVs out windows and crash cars and stuff because they wanted the kind of thing. And this was the 70s, and this kind of behavior seemed to be really a 70s and 80s thing, right?
Oh yeah.
It didn't really last much past that. When the 90s came around, rock stars, if they did anything, they just overdosed in their hotel room or alone by themselves in their apartment, that's what's the fun of that? If you're gonna kill yourself, let's have make a party of it. At least,
jump out the window into the swimming pool or something.
Something.
Riding your bed mattress.
At least choke on your own vomit or somebody's vomit.
Yeah,
go
out Bonham style.
Yeah, come on, what's the matter with these rock? At least Elvis, died trying to pass a giant Grogan.
Oh my God.
A peanut butter and banana Grogan. He was trying to get that fucker out of there, and his heart exploded. So it was kind of cool. There's nothing dignified about death, anyways. So if you're gonna go, you might as well do something crazy,
go
right?
Out with a bang.
So before we before we start talking about our list here, I want to say first of all, this is not going to be a depressing show where everybody dies. This isn't that show.
Oh no, this is fun. This is
more,
a fun one.
Yeah, this is way more on the fun, lighthearted side. So, okay, we got Lily V6, our resident rock historian. So, Lily, why don't you go ahead and hit us up, and what do you got, girl?
We're going to start off with Jack White. So, American singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and producer, best known as the lead singer and guitarist of the White Stripes. So apparently he's notoriously a grouch and will walk off stage mid-performance for, the dumbest reasons. For example, if the crowd was sitting down and not standing up during his show, he would just have a fit and walk off the stage.
I agree with that. I do the same thing. In fact, unless you people start standing up, I'm leaving right now.
Wow.
I'm out of here.
Dramatic. Whatever. So yeah,
Fuck this shit.
That's him. That's him.
So
he's just a crybaby.
He's a crybaby.
That doesn't surprise me though.
It doesn't surprise you. See, it kind of surprises me.
Nah.
Because I've seen him, like in that movie, and he just seemed like a really cool guy. You know, like a real kind of like music enthusiast. But hey, we all have our moments, right?
Sure.
Right, Lily?
Well, I don't perform on stage.
Uh-huh.
Thank goodness. That would be bad. I'd be super dramatic about it, I think.
So, Lil, who else? What you got next?
Since you mentioned the dirt, let's go ahead and put the notorious ones
Your
on there.
boys.
My boys.
These are Lily's boys.
Get it out the way. Motley Crue, as a whole, the whole band. American rock band formed in 1981. Group is notorious for their hedonistic lifestyle, and not really one of them is innocent. I mean, Mick is probably the quietest one out of them all, but he used to do this stuff too. We could sit here for hours telling all of the stories that they have while on tour and off tour, but they drove their manager crazy and other bands insane throughout the 80s and 90s. At one point, they were so unruly on a tour with Kiss that Gene Simmons fired them as their opening act. On tour with Ozzy in Memphis, they stole a car, took it for a joyride, and smashed the windows and gutted the upholstery. They toured with AC/DC, and Nicky tackled Eddie Van Halen and bit his bare stomach while Neil bit his hand. In Germany, they threw 2 beds out of the window, smashing a Mercedes-Benz. They set hotels on fire, smashed the glass in elevators in Switzerland. 6 urinated in Rick Nielsen's jacket of Cheap Trick. Lee had to be handcuffed every night after a show to keep him from killing himself or doing any other harm to people. And he would wake up handcuffed because he would run around the hotels banging on doors naked and doing God only knows what else. But this is just like the tip of the iceberg with them. But they are just one of the bands that they drove everybody crazy on tour up until they all got really sober and then stopped.
So this is really a sort of result of drinking.
Drinking and drugs, yes. But mostly drinking in the beginning. So this is the boys. Our boys throwing TVs on cars out of windows and, you know.
Well, that was the thing. You know, they say that it's really fun. Like today's TVs, you can't do it with. See, guys, this is
I know. Well,
these flat screens, they don't do it.
They don't have the box.
When you had the big TVs with the picture tube, those fuckers, man, they would explode when you dropped them out of a hotel window. Oh, it was a good.
And
time.
onto someone's car.
Or just onto the sidewalk or onto the lobby or throw them in a swimming pool.
That would be fun.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's.
So Motley Crue literally drove Doc McGee and everyone insane during this.
Did you ever see the movie Almost Famous?
Yes.
Okay, the scene where the guy jumps from the
roof into the pool. That's where I was getting that from. Yeah.
That movie, the band's names were all changed and everything.
Yeah.
Because
well, yeah. You have
Cameron Crowe didn't want to
get in trouble.
Yeah, he didn't want to get in trouble because he knew these guys. But supposedly those antics were all done by somebody.
Yes, that's legit. I read about that as well.
Yeah. So what do you got next?
I'm gonna go ahead and get the gross one out of the way.
Oh boy.
G.G. Allen. American punk singer-songwriter who performed and recorded with many groups during his career. First of all, ew, if you had to work with this guy. Just gross. Just disgusting. He's just a disgusting human being. But
you would want to have a lot of like hand sanitizer around.
You want a lot of drop cloths and things. His live performances, which I'm sure his bandmates, publicists, and management hated, were very graphic. He would include self-mutilation, parading around the stage naked, eat his own shit, fight with audience members, and he even was planning to commit suicide on stage, but instead he died from a heroin overdose in 1993, so he didn't get to fulfill his dream there.
And he was a guest on the Geraldo Rivera show.
Was he?
Time, yes.
I didn't even know that.
Yes.
Gross. He's so gross. But he did die, so he's not doing that stuff anymore. But like I'm sure those kind of antics were driving.
Well, I heard I heard here's what I know.
Here's what
I heard. I mean, this comes from a very good source. This comes from our mentor, Eddie Trunk. I heard him talking about. Apparently, there's a documentary that I've not seen yet. It's on Amazon.
I probably don't want to see
about G.G. Allen, but apparently, the drummer would stick the drumstick up his poop chute,
nice.
and then he would sell them, and there was a different price depending on how many inches it went.
Who buys this stuff?
True fans.
Who's a true fan?
I know. All we want people to do is go to Patreon.
Right?
We're not asking you to buy drumsticks dipped in shit. Maybe that's what the problem is, Lily. Maybe I should start taking stuff.
I can only do so much.
Shoving it up my ass and selling it.
I'll start selling my panties, but it's not going to go much farther than that.
Oh God!
Honestly.
So anyways, yeah, and would you really want to? I mean, I can't imagine me. I mean,
if I was his manager, I'd just kill him myself.
Well, that and who takes that gig, being the guitar player or the bass player, whatever in that band? Like, you'd really have to kind of be just as fucked up to even. And could you imagine other bands that they were? I mean,
to even open for them.
Like I would.
I wouldn't want my name on their bill.
Yeah,
nothing.
I'd be terrified to even be around him because you can imagine the diseases and stuff. He's covering himself in feces and.
God only knows what else.
I mean,
blood,
nasty.
his own blood, probably someone else's blood.
Who knows? So what do you got next?
Eric Clapton is next on my list. English rock and blues guitarist, singer, and songwriter. The only 3-time inductee into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for his solo career, Yardbirds and Cream. And he spent most of his early years furiously inhaling massive quantities of drugs and alcohol, kind of like it was going to run out or never come back. But he would wander off stage, and someone would have to persuade him to go back on the stage during performances. And he did one
hell of a drug. See, I need these sound bites right now. I want somebody to hit that sound bite of Rick James going, "Cocaine's hell of a drug." That would be perfect right here.
Well, he did one entire show lying down with the microphone stand lying beside him, and no one even cared. He just the audience didn't care.
Clapton is God.
But if I have to talk my person back onto the stage during a performance, I mean I'd be mad as him and the audience. But he would get so fucked up.
It's so funny you mention Eric Clapton because somebody in my inner circle group, I don't know if it was Jim Vernon, one of you guys, posted this picture of Eric Clapton wearing a T-shirt. It was him from the 70s, and it said, "No snow, no show." And
I need to get those for your.
I thought he was talking about skiing. I'm sorry. I'm just color me naive.
Wow, vanilla.
Ice, baby.
Din 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 din.
Yeah, I mean it was the 70s, and cocaine just exploded. It was coke. I mean, just like
it's
by the mid
still 70s,
like by the mid 70s. I mean, it was just like everything, and really, people were really having a good time until the war on drugs during the Reagan era, is when it really kind of like started to become really scary. But up to that point, people just did coke and just did coke and just did coke. It was just what you did, and that era of musicians, there was very few people who didn't partake in that. I mean, it was just absolutely huge. And it's so funny because Eric Clapton, in his later years has become this sort of...
He's very mellow.
Very mellow. This kind of
dad-like.
Yeah, English gentleman of the guitar, you know what I mean? Sophisticated kind of guy. Soft-spoken kind of guy, kind of quiet.
Now he probably just drinks vodka.
And he's just, so you don't... It's hard to to go back to that, but he had a real problem with alcohol, and he had a real problem with alcohol, and also that there was a whole thing. Heroin was very popular at that time too. So in the late 60s and 70s, a lot of people were
literally doing everything at that time.
Yeah,
it's experimental time.
Yeah, I mean, and so we just forget. We see these guys now. Everybody's kind of cleaned up their act because they decided they didn't want to die like a lot of their friends were doing. And I think that's legitimate. I think that, Mick Jagger and Keith Richards and Eric Clapton and a lot of those guys that kind of did have the longevity, I think they looked around at what was going on with a lot of their friends and said, whoa, wait a minute here.
Maybe we better pull it back.
Yeah, maybe we
Pump
should
the
find
brakes.
some way to kind of get this shit straightened out. So, but anyhow, yeah, Clapton. Go figure. All right. What else you got? We're going to play another song after this next one. What you got?
I have Iggy Pop, American singer, songwriter, musician, record producer, and actor, designated the godfather of punk and vocalist for the proto-punk band The Stooges. He's been around forever during the drug phase and the non-drug phase. But in the 70s, he and the Stooges would do a ton of heroin because they were bored, as Lou was just sort of saying. And, of course, when you shoot up, there's always some blood in the needle afterwards. And they decided that they were going to decorate the walls of their hotel room like Michelangelo in the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah.
So they did that, and that was, I'm sure, lovely for the maids to check that out. Because they were bored. This is what they did. And they did it all the time.
Did heroin, then shoot the blood on the wall.
Yeah. Made a painting. But yeah, Iggy Pop and his band of Stooges.
Well, I also heard... I
kind of heard he was an angry man.
That is the only thing that they did. There's a story about him going behind the drum set and taking a number 2.
Oh, yeah. But I see him doing that.
Yeah, well, yeah.
He was a strange man, though.
Crazy. But
yeah.
Anyways, all right, this is a band called, speaking of crazy, this is a band called The End Machine, alive today on the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. That's a band called The End Machine, and you can find them at they're from some Scandinavian country, and I apologize, I don't have all the info on them, but they've this weird web address, radi.al/The End Machine, radi.al/The End Machine. Check those guys out. That's The End Machine, La Machine. And I think the Hawkster has finally joined us.
You mean Hair Metal Hank?
There's Hair Metal Hank. Hair Metal Hank, what are you doing there, big guy?
About ready to burn one. You don't mind, dude?
Burn him if you got him, brother.
Sorry I'm late, but in New Orleans, man, I just don't keep the clock. You know what I mean?
I got you.
I just don't keep the clock. I got this from David Crosby at the Stone Show, so you know it's good to get.
Oh, you might die later.
I'm already 175.
So what's happening, Hair Metal? What you been up to lately, brother?
I was in town for the Stone Show and figured I'd hang out for a while and give that Keith a break. So here I am.
So I read what Samantha put. You knew you were safe because Keith was in town. Keith Richards was in town, and he can't die.
Yeah.
So
It's hard to imagine those guys are in their 70s. You know what I mean?
right.
Well, we do have Hair Metal Hank has joined us. He's getting ready to burn one. And we don't have any problem with that because most of the states that are listening to us right now, it's probably legal.
Probably. Maybe. We don't even know.
I mean, this is the internet. It is international. It's worldwide.
It is.
This is true.
So, Hair Metal Hank, do you got any good stories from the road? Any of the bands that you roadied with that just did some outlandish shit?
Well, I've been on the road mostly with Crocus my life, so Crocus, the greatest thing from Switzerland since anything. So that's pretty much, those guys treated me like gold for years, and I'm nothing bad to say. But a lot of it's that rock and roll debauchery, sex, drugs, rock and roll, tossing the old TV out the window trick, stuff like that. But those guys really weren't into anything too hardcore. Not that I've seen, but I'm just a roadie. What do I know?
Sometimes the roadies are the worst.
It's
what I'm
yeah, Were you the guy that picked out the groupies for him to take backstage? Were you that guy?
Like for Poison?
Yeah, sometimes I just stash one away for myself for later, like
in a closet. Like, did you tie her up and gag her?
That tie her up, and put her on the bus.
Oh, nice, cool.
Yeah, in the bathroom, the bus.
I like it.
Okay.
So what did you usually go for, Hank? Did you usually go for the blondes, brunettes, or the redheads?
I like the bald girls usually, and girls with a decent amount of hair, kind of like yours, Lou. That's what I really dig, man.
Were you chubby chaser?
It didn't matter to me really, as long as they were bald, and that's bald is good.
Bald and tied up.
That's it.
Balled up.
Nice.
Well, I'm glad you joined us. I'm glad you joined us, Hank. We are talking about some of the guys who tour who are just absolute nightmares to be on the road with. And Lily's been running down a pretty good list here. So what do you got, Lil? What's next on your list?
I have Keith Moon on my list next.
Another Keith.
Another Keith.
Oh, not our Keith.
Not our Keith. English drummer for the rock band The Who, noted for his unique style and his destructive side. He didn't create insane rock star behavior, but he did popularize it. He was a fan of trashing hotels. He liked to consume horse tranquilizers. Have naked.
Who doesn't?
I mean, really, have naked cake fights, which I can totally relate to. But they say he did it all with passion. Once shortly after leaving a hotel, he sat up in a panic and told the driver to stop, turn around because he forgot to do something. He went back to the hotel and threw the TV from his room out the window into the pool. When he returned to the car, he simply said, "I nearly forgot to do that. We can go now." His signature, though, was demolishing toilets. He always brought an enormous supply of cherry bombs, M80s, and dynamite with him on tour. So he was basically banned from every Holiday Inn, Sheraton, and Hilton in the country for doing all of the things. He was a fun guy. He was colorful.
He also drove a Rolls Royce into a pool one time. So what's that tell you, buddy? He
There
didn't
you
care
go.
what.
He gave no fucks.
Yeah, I was actually there when he threw television out one time.
Nice.
And it was, let me just tell you, those things they fly well, but they landed poorly, if you know what I mean.
Did he throw it with finesse at least?
He threw it, and then he, just kind of did his thing. He was crazy, man. I mean, it's moon to loon. Yeah, I mean, a little finesse, but he wasn't real finessey. If you watch him play the drums, he just doesn't. Finesse is not his thing. We kind of just shoved it forcefully. He probably rushed his throw to a little bit, to push, but or the thing.
Nice.
But I was there. I've seen a lot of shit. Did I mention I got this from David Crosby?
You did.
Yes. Weed Tonight, sponsored by David Crosby and Company.
So you know it's the best.
Absolutely.
Said you better be careful.
Better watch, man. You might not.
Potent.
Crocus is on a break, man, so I don't have nowhere to be.
All right, you don't have nowhere to be. Crocus is on a break.
I don't even know where I'm at right now.
Nice.
I sent Hank a screenshot the other day. I don't know, a week or so ago. I was cruising around listening to Ozzy's Boneyard, and Screaming in the Night came on. I took a quick pic and sent it to Hank.
Nice.
So he could
A rock and roll anthem for all time.
Yeah. I remember seeing, what was the show? I didn't know anything about them, but they had that song "Screaming in the Night," and DVE would play it once in a while, and it came on. The news was over. It was like a Friday or Saturday night. My parents went to bed, and I was thinking about going to bed, and all of a sudden this thing comes on, and it's Crocus, and they're playing, and it's one of the. It was the Don. It seemed like a Don Kirshner rock concert would have been before. Like it would seem like it'd been after the Don Kirshner rock concert. It was something. It was one of those type, Blue Jean Network. I don't know. Maybe it was Soundstage. So I was riveted. I didn't, any chance to see bands play rock. I was a kid, and they opened the set with a song called "Eat the Rich," which is a song I didn't even know of, but it just stuck out in my head. I don't know why. It just stuck in my head. I thought it was kind of, I don't know, just caught my attention.
Just one of those things.
Just one of those things. So what do you got, Lil?
I have another English gentleman, Richie Blackmore.
Really?
Yeah.
No. What did Richie Blackmore, other than pissing off everybody
Well,
he ever worked with?
He did that, but he was, so one of the founding members of Deep Purple, guitarist and songwriter. He just liked to piss everyone off in his own way. He refused to play encores at shows, which caused patrons to smash up the venue and ruin the band's gear. So that's kind of a thing. And according to him, music isn't supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to be work. And he also threatened all of his bandmates all the time to kill them or beat them up. So that'd kind of be an issue, I think.
There's a there was a, in the early, I believe it was the early 2000s, the most iconic lineup of Deep Purple reunited. So with Ian Pace, help me out here. What's his name? The singer.
I don't know the singer's name.
Oh, come on. I almost call him Scott Ian.
Wrong. wrong.
Ian Gillan.
Ian
Gillan.
Gillan. Ian Pace, Ian Gillan, Roger Glover, John Lord, and Richie Blackmore. And they did a really great concert DVD. It's really, really good. They sound awesome. It's captured perfectly. The audio, the video is fantastic. And they do the thing where, there's like kind of interview segments in between. Mm-hmm. And first of all, Richie Blackmore refused to be interviewed for any of it. He would not do any of that. And they were almost every single one of the members of the band were bitching about Richie Blackmore.
Well,
about how hard he was to work with and how like they never knew if it was only going to be a good night or a bad night, depending on Richie's mood. And oh my God, I guess you write Smoke on the Water and like it goes to your head.
Wow.
Like.
Well, when I saw them a couple years ago, I was kind of disappointed. But
well, he's not. He was.
I know
he hasn't been in the band. Steve
Maybe
Morse,
that's why I was disappointed.
Steve Morse last I heard he was the guitar player. He may not even be on it. Guthrie Govan, I think, maybe played in it for a while. But I lost interest in them when John Lord died because I just really felt like without his organ playing like that he had. I mean, John Lord played keyboards the way like he was like a second guitar player in that band. So I always kind of felt it was kind of like to call him a keyboard player was kind of like, yeah, he was a keyboard player, but the way he played and his sound and everything was much more like a guitar player. He played with distortion. A lot of the stuff that you think, a lot of stuff on early Deep Purple records, it sounds like guitar. It's actually John Lord's organ playing. So after he was gone, I had no interest in checking them out at all. But what do you think, Hank? You Deep Purple fan at all?
I met Richie Blackmore one time in 1976, Omaha, Nebraska. He was a dick. Kept saying like stuff like about black magic and black this and rainbows and shit. I was like, Richie, you are stoned. You must have got that shit from Crosby too. Yeah, the dude wasn't friendly at all. Great guitar player. Just heard some bad things about him, but he's just not a good guy, man.
Just a British grouch.
Yeah, he was just
crotchety old man.
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of got that impression, just like what the fuck. So let's get off of Richie Blackmore. What do you got next, Lil?
I got Dave Mustaine, American guitar singer, songwriter, actor, author, best known as the co-founder, lead singer, guitarist, and primary songwriter of American heavy metal band Megadeth. He's got a nasty personality to match his drug and alcohol habit, which got kicked him out of Metallica initially. So there's that beginning problem. And he had so bad of an attitude that he formed the other band as Revenge, Megadeth. The difficulties didn't really stop when he had the new band. He still did drugs and alcohol for a while. He was always getting into feuds with other band members due to his short temper. And he got worked up over the littlest things, which I can totally relate to because I get worked up over the dumbest shit too.
Like, give me some little thing he got worked up over.
I don't have a specific thing. It could be something as simple as somebody was 5 minutes late to rehearsal. But that's
you're fired.
Yeah, he would get crabby about that. But he's just got a anger problem, I think.
Well, there's something about it. But see, I think that adds to what he does musically. Like he sounds pissed off when he sings.
Yeah.
So
maybe it's okay.
Like when I hear him sing, he sounds like he's just seething. Just want to.
He probably usually is.
Another person gets on my nerve today. I'm
gonna throw this guitar at that guy in the audience.
That's what it sounds like. Hello, me. Meet the real me. I mean, that's exactly. He sounds like he's completely pissed off at all times.
Right.
What do you think? What do you think, Keith? Hank. I'm sorry. You a Megadeth fan at all?
I met Dave Mustaine once in 1986 in somewhere near Tennessee. He was a dick.
Everybody's a dick. So speaking of
Legit.
dicks, Lily, give us one more, play another song.
I've got David Coverdale on the list. This one's actually kind of small, but he was great instrumentalist. He was attractive, but he only wanted attractive people on his tour with him.
Yeah.
So he went through constant lineup changes before he was like happy with who he had. He went through hirings and firings throughout the years. John Sykes won't even talk to him ever again. So he's just, nasty British man because he wants everybody to be pretty. Reb Beach, though. Come on. Reb Beach isn't pretty. Sorry, Reb.
Bernie Marsden was fired from the band because of that. I mean,
He wanted everybody to look like a sex symbol.
Yeah, that was the whole thing. Well, I mean,
I get it.
I get it. I get it.
But
I mean,
you can't be a dick.
But that is going to rub people the wrong way, and you're going to what John Sykes is a good looking guy.
He did not think he was up to his standards.
I mean, I look at the video to Blue Murder.
I know. I'm not.
I mean, he's like got the long hair. He's like, in fact, I thought John Sykes must be really ugly. And then because I never saw that video, like it wasn't a really big song. Like they were kind of like a mid-level kind of band. They weren't like super big, and just somehow I just never caught the video.
Yeah.
And then years later, I saw it on YouTube, and I was like, holy shit, he's like a total pretty boy. And the story I heard was that David Coverdale fired all those guys during the stick it in sessions, slide it in, stick it in.
Close enough.
Slide it in.
Stick it in sounds more violent.
He said that Sykes was trying to take over the band.
Oh, well.
And that it was like a kind of a competition. So, if you're already vain, you're going to be worried about shit like that. What do you think? Are you a David Coverdale fan there, Hank?
Yeah, I met him once. In Columbus, Ohio, 1978. Yeah, that's right. He was a dick.
Okay, speaking of dicks, here's a track called My First Lover. We'll be right back on the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. Don't forget patreon.com/Lou Lombardi. is Lou Lombardi's Strange Love, My First Lover. You can go to loulombardimusic.com. We open the show with Firewolfe, and that is facebook.com/Firewolfe Band. We played a little End Machine, and this is the weird web address, radil.al/the End Machine. It's European. I'm not sure. That's probably something common over there. And we're gonna be closing out with Bordella in a little bit here. So we are talking about bands that are just absolute nightmares to be on the road with. And we also have Hair Metal Hank. You there, buddy? Or you sleep? Hank, you there?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, man.
All right,
What's
that maybe Hank.
thought you passed
Hank,
out.
Hank passed out. So.
Yeah, I'm good. What's up? How you guys doing? What's going on?
You got any pearls of wisdom or anything you'd like to share before we? Because we're gonna do some fan shout outs. We got some bunch of people watching tonight.
Did you guys talk about Kid Rock at all?
No.
Go ahead. Tell us about Kid Rock.
I was on a break from Circus one summer, and I helped Kid Rock's crew out, and this dude started a fight in a Waffle House. A Waffle House? Who the hell fights in a Waffle House? True story. It's also been sued more times than freaking anybody. Fight in a Waffle House. Look it up.
Oh man, who fights in a Waffle? I mean, I got a Waffle House. You're supposed to eat some waffles, relax, enjoy.
What if
the
someone
waffle.
tries to take my waffle though?
Well, maybe that's what happened. He didn't know. All you have to say is "Lego my ego." That's all he had to say, and it would have been fine.
First of all, to do multi-platinum albums, he's eating at a fucking Waffle House. I don't get that either, but whatever.
Well,
Just a simple man.
I know. He's just a simple man. So, Lil, we have some folks watching. Let's give some shout outs. Shout out. I want to say real quick. Were you going to talk about Ozzy at all?
He's on here.
Okay. Because when you talk about Ozzy, you got to mention John Alamo Fox. Did John tell you about this?
He did.
Okay, we'll tell you about it. But let's give a shout out to the folks watching.
We've got Chris Thunderwolf Dotson, Adam Michael Asbel, Mark Silverstein, and if I screw up your name, I'm sorry. Shock Frenzy, Bill Damiano, Mary Wall, John Potochnik, maybe? Sorry. Mike Eckert, Sean McDade, Danny Corso, Dave Riggins, Tracy Sampson, Jared Grease, Gigi from Rock Rage.
But not Gigi Allen.
Not Gigi Allen, thank goodness. No, he's dead. That'd be weird. Redsid Webster, Jerry Colburn, Shelly Strait, Josh Montadoro, and I know I saw someone else on here. It's gone now, and I'm sorry, whoever that was. But my Facebook stuff disappears on my phone.
Yeah, that you get you only get so many.
So anybody who is watching,
when you're doing a live stream like this, like you get so many, then they kind of disappear. It's kind of hard to see them all. My friend John Fox wanted me to mention that one time Ozzy peed on his leg.
What?
Yeah, Ozzy peed on his leg. He says, but he got to meet. But the trade-off was he got to meet Randy Rhoads.
Well, there you go.
So
win-win.
Yeah.
Obviously.
So he
win
Paul
for Ozzy,
Gilbert
win for
before
John.
Paul Gilbert was famous. I guess they were all there at the same show. I do not know the complete circumstances of the leg peeing with John, but since Ozzy peed on the Alamo, well, I've been calling him John Alamo Fox.
Nice, John Alamo Fox. Well, while we're on Ozzy, I'll go ahead and talk about him for a minute here.
Sure.
He's up there with Motley Crue on the whole being annoying on tour. As you know, he's the lead vocalist of heavy metal band Black Sabbath.
Really? I never heard of him.
Really? Look them up. Google.
I met Black Sabbath in 1975. No, go ahead.
They were dicks.
They were dicks. Actually, I would think Ozzy's awesome. He was a very reckless person once he became super popular. He was deep into drugs, and his behavior eventually got him fired from Black Sabbath. One of the more notorious moments was when he completely disappeared and missed a show in 1978, probably talking to Hair Metal Hank. He went to the wrong hotel and slept through the entire day, and when he woke, he didn't realize how much time had passed. The band and management had to cancel the whole show. And when he went solo, the bad habits didn't stop. And like we just talked about, he got banned from Texas for peeing on the Alamo. And those are just a couple things. He used to also snort ants and drink his own pee and all the other bite heads off bats,
Doves,
the whole thing.
Canaries.
Yeah, they this was it was to celebrate the release of one of his. It was either
they talk about that on the Eat Your Hollywood Story, don't they?
It was either Blizzard of Oz or Flying or the follow up, They Sharon released all these doves, as a kind of and he grabbed one of. He was stone shit faced out. I grabbed one, and he bit the heads off, and bit the head off of it, and it was in front of this room full of all these record label people, and there were like conservative kind of not conservative, but
suits.
People
they
suits.
Were suits.
They were suits, and they were freaking the fuck out. They were like, oh my God, because there's blood and everything. You know what I mean? They were like, oh my God, get us the fuck out of here. They wanted nothing to do with him, man.
Bill Damiano, what do you think Gore is like on tour? You know what? I bet you they're super calm.
Yeah, well, they get it all out on stage.
Yeah.
I
did not read about Gore, but I bet you they're calm.
You said you went, right?
I've gone twice. I'm going to go again.
You have to take an umbrella and wear a raincoat or something?
Something. I was told to wear white the first time. I will never listen to anybody ever again.
You weren't that naive, really.
I wore the white. I got covered in blood.
You had to be in your 20s, though. You were young, right?
I was 30. I didn't know. I'd never been to a Gore show. So I assumed I would get something on me because they said to wear white. I didn't know I would get drenched.
I had somebody in my office who knew about my podcast and everything about a year ago, and she was telling me, she says, I know you like hard rock and heavy metal. She says, let me tell you, she says, my boyfriend is now my husband. She says, likes that kind of music, and he took me to show. The very first concert I ever went to was Gore.
Oh God, what a show to go to!
She says I got broken good.
You think? Did she get stuck in the crowd and have the blood cannon on her face like I did?
She said she got completely doused with all kind of disgusting
semen and blood.
It can't be real semen.
It's alien semen, is what they call it. No, it's not. It's blue water.
I mean, that's just crazy,
I dropped acid with Gore.
What was that?
I dropped acid with Gore one time.
Did you?
It was me, Gore, and Jim Morrison. And we ate some peyote in the desert too.
Nice.
All kind of. But enough about that.
Oh my God. So you go to the Gore show and you get soaked in the ranch dressing
and all the things
and the clam chowder.
Yeah.
Clam chowder running down the back of your neck, the back of your thigh.
Okay.
I'm sorry. That's what happens after the show.
I've had enough. Hate you.
Okay. So, any closing ones you want to talk about? Because we need to get out of here.
I do want to talk about one more. Axl Rose.
Of course.
Him? No, I thought he was just a very.
He's an upstanding citizen.
He taught Bible study at the Assembly of God Church.
Get out
Did
of
you
my
know that?
face. I don't care.
What was that?
He was an altar boy.
No, he was he was an altar boy. He was in the Assembly of God church, and he taught he was like a youth pastor, worked with the Wednesday night youth group shit. Yeah.
Was this post?
Yeah, this is way before he had the. You ever see the pictures?
No.
You ever saw Behind the Music? No, he was totally he had real short hair, real dorky. He had short red hair. He was real.
The church screwed him up. Surprise.
And then he went to California, and the rest was history.
Anyway, lead vocalist of the hard rock band Guns N' Roses, and he's been the band's sole constant member since the beginning in 1985. He's actually one of the most difficult musicians to work with. He's notorious for jumping into audiences, to beat up concert goers who had a camera, stormed off stage that led to riots. Other riots were caused during his reckless behavior, but even from the beginning of the band, he's always had feuds with other bandmates and caused them to leave one by one. And lately he's been calmer because he wants to get back into the game, but now that he looks like a soccer mom, back to church stuff. But he just likes to fight and yell.
Another guy who's would just kind of say real quick, who's famous for doing crazy shit like that is your buddy, Sebastian Bach. Yeah.
Yeah, he likes to hit people with cameras too. Actually, in fact, you know what's funny, and I don't know if I should even say this, but if you try to get a photo pass, you are not allowed for Sebastian Bach shows to take photos from the pit. You have to take them from the crowd. You're not allowed to be that close because he will break your camera. They warn you.
Well, I got my camera broken by Sebastian Bach. Oh, there's all kind of horror stories about him. He shows up at bars where bands are playing and insists on sitting in.
And he heckles them and causes
they
fights.
won't let him play. I guess there's a famous story about him trying to sit in with some band. They didn't know any of his songs.
Yeah, we talked about this.
And he started shit with them and stuff like that. And if you look,
he ends up biting them.
There's There's videos though of him on YouTube playing with like in bars with cover bands, you know, and he just threw up.
I mean, if they don't know
stage.
your shit, they don't know your shit.
Yeah, they don't know your
get
shit.
over it.
Yeah, so okay, Hank, anything you want to close with before we get out of here tonight? What do you what's on your mind, brother? Speak to us. Hand us down the wisdom of hair metal Hank.
Everybody needs to just chill, and everything's gonna be all right. Don't get hyped. Don't get all hyped up about this. Don't sweat the small shit. You dig?
I dig.
Life's a garden. Dig it.
That's it. That's all I gotta say. Did I tell you about that time I met David Crosby?
I thought it was today.
Remember,
What?
Robert plants while Roger waters.
Ah, zing.
All right, guys.
Nerd.
The Loudini Rock and Roll Circus, sponsored tonight by Wolf's Customs. Go to wolfscustoms.com and get some custom finishes for your guitar. Chris is a great guy. I'm holding up the card here if I can get it. There you are. Check him out. You can email wolf@wolfscustoms.com. Chris Dodson is the owner-operator.
He is one podcast fan, though.
Yes, the man.
Really is.
Yes.
Even I, and I'm not around all the time.
He's our number one fan.
So we are jumping over to the inner circle. If you'd like to party with us a little bit longer, we can hear the real dirty jokes. We're also today is the anniversary of the beginning of the band Cream. So I think Hair Metal Hank or Keith or one of those guys has a few things to say about Ginger Baker and boys. So maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. So you can go to LouLombardiRocks.com and you can get right into there. So we're going to be doing that here in a minute. If you haven't already, go to patreon.com/Lou Lombardi. Give us $1 or $2. We do appreciate it. And shout out to all the bands we had tonight. We started out with Firewolfe. We had Lou Lombardi. That's me. We had the End Machine. We're going to wrap up with Bordella here in a second. Lily, anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
Sure. Just my show's on Thursdays, 6 p.m. Eastern, Rock Rage Radio. Just go to rockrageradio.com or download the free app and watch for live feeds this week. We've got Alice Cooper, Sanctuary, Alice Cooper's backup band, and maybe even Striper on Saturday. Who knows? We'll see. Depending on my mood.
Okay. And a real quick thing is Thursday night, Lily and I are going to be at the Subalpine Club hanging out with Glenn Sobel and company. This is Alice Cooper Band, and this is a great show. So if you're in the Pittsburgh area, is there still tickets available?
There are still tickets. You can message me, $22 pre-sale. If you go the night of the show, they are going to be $25. There are a few left.
But this is a really good show, and you should go check it out.
It's fun.
It's really, you get to see that band, the Alice Cooper's band, like in a more intimate setting.
Yeah.
And
it's very exclusive.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. You definitely want to check it out, so if you can get a chance to go. So, all right, guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Hair Metal Hank, thank you, brother. You gonna party with us some more over on the other side? You gonna hang around for a bit?
I can't. I gotta take off, man. But I'll tell Keith about it. He'll be back sometime.
All right, my man. All right. Hey.
About, you know.
Yeah, I got you. All right, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out. LoudiniRockandRollCircus.com is our website. Please hit us up on Patreon. And this is Bordella Sinner's Dream on the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. Have a good